It's not a joke, it's not trying to be rage bait or hyperbole. I truly believe Superman was one of the worst movies to ever be released, and this movie doesn't look any different. Because the first scene in the trailer is this stupid dog. Can somebody tell James Gunn off with dogs and kids in movies? Off with Crypto the dog.
23 will be the best year yet.
And now we also have another massive issue with this pile of is the fact that Supergirl is some dumb who's like partying and who's drunk all the time.
Language.
How's it going, everyone? Thank you for the overwhelming support on my recent debunk of the Little Platoon Superman review. I stumbled across this video reacting to the new Supergirl trailer with an absurd title and thumbnail, and I just knew I had to cover it.
It's just that sometimes Batman and Superman can get a little bit boring, but on that topic, Lobo is a comic book character that I actually do care about. More niche characters like Daredevil, Wolverine, anti-heroes like Lobo are characters that grasp my interest a bit more. And Lobo is one of the most kick-ass characters out there in all of comics and manga, and I can make a full video on it, and for some reason his first on-screen appearance is gonna be in Superbig.
What is the problem with Lobo's first live-action appearance being in a Supergirl movie? This isn't like the Joker first showing up in an Aquaman movie or something. These are both characters that are spacefaring and alien in nature, and they have met many times before. You ask who this movie is for after just previously stating that Lobo is one of your favorite characters. And it stands to reason that if Lobo can accrue a fan base despite never having his own film or television franchise, then I'm sure Supergirl can, who has actually appeared in live action in both film and television countless times. Why is it unreasonable to think that people would enjoy Supergirl as a character and want to see her adventures?
Because I really don't care about this movie. I don't think anybody does, really. You thought people would like to see a full movie of that dumb that showed up at the end of Super Shit.
Oh, I get it. It's because he hated her cameo at the end of the Superman movie, where she was obviously just drunk and picking up her dog, and it was also establishing the usage of her using red suns to nerf herself so that way she could drink. Got it.
It's not trying to be rage bait or hyperbole. I truly believe Superman was one of the worst movies to ever be released, and this movie doesn't look any different. Because the first scene in the trailer is this stupid retarded dog. Can somebody tell James Gunn to off with dogs and kids in movies?
Just because Crypto is in the movie, it doesn't mean that this movie and Superman are the same movie. Two films can have the same character in it and be entirely different stories. And why was Superman 2025 one of the worst movies ever released? Even if you're like one of the Snyder bros that really hates Superman by James Gunn, how can you legitimately believe that it is one of the worst films ever released? How can a movie be rage bait as well? The way that he talks about Superman and Supergirl is like he's talking about like a Serbian film or that 8-hour movie that's literally just a single shot of the Empire State Building.
We also have another massive issue with this pile of shit is the fact that Supergirl is some dumb who's like partying and who's drunk all the time. When was that ever the character? I don't even give a shit about Supergirl, and I know that that is not the character.
Okay, first off, calling Supergirl a whore with no evidence is insane, and can only be interpreted as either sexist or insanely bad faith criticism. Secondly, her being a drunk party girl is the case, at least from what we've seen in this universe. It was established in Superman, so it is thus far consistent for this interpretation of the character. If you don't like that and you want to make an argument for this being a bad adaptation, please make more substantive arguments than insulting Supergirl like she was your mother and didn't bring you your dinosaur-shaped chicken tendies.
What does it lead back to? A brand new retarded comic that influences the movies. There was some brand new comic that nobody, absolutely nobody read that made Supergirl like this, and now people are saying that that's the way she's always been. I don't care about this character, but just because some new crappy comic came out shouldn't influence what the characters should be on screen. Supergirl should be a role model for people who are growing up watching this character. And I'll be honest, in this brand new modern age of OnlyFans bitches, nothing is more apt than a Supergirl that's drunk all the time and is some whore.
People absolutely did read the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic. I'm sure some people that don't read comics at all didn't even hear about it until the movie. But in terms of the circle of people that read comics in modern day, they probably have, or at least have heard of it. It was written by Tom King, one of DC's most well-known writers, and while Tom King obviously has his detractors, Ranting for Vengeance could not even be bothered to find one of them. He couldn't quote one of them or bring up any sort of substantial arguments that they would have used in any situation where this conversation would come up. Ranting for Vengeance also does not go further into why he dislikes Tom King or why other people dislike him. However, I'm pretty sure everyone on Twitter could talk about why they dislike him for a variety of reasons, whether it be that Batman and Catwoman didn't get married because of him or that he's a CIA asset. Anyway, Ranting for Vengeance says it himself. He doesn't care about this character. And he cares so little that he's willing to make bad faith criticism just because it isn't quote-unquote based enough. People can enjoy and defend this interpretation of the character, especially since the film isn't out yet, and Supergirl has only been in one comedy scene, and that's all you have to base your interpretation of this character off of. Supergirl also isn't drunk that much in the comic that the story's based on, and the use of alcohol in the storyline, while it can be cloaked in the veil of jokes at times, for the sake of the character that the story is following, it is a traumatic coping mechanism related to her own loss and isolation as a person. Drinking alcohol as a coping mechanism doesn't make Supergirl necessarily bad. She can still provide morals and lessons to the audience despite her own inner failures. I don't know how he judges morality if anyone who drinks alcohol, even a little bit when they're depressed, is immediately a bad person. Oh, and again, just calling her a whore, just straight up, based on nothing in the trailer, totally me surprised.
My third point, and not many people are pointing out, I'll just name drop him flat out. Geeks and Gamers, that famous kind of anti-woke channel, I saw him talking about this, saying that James Gunn is just ripping off Guardians again. I don't know how many times it has to be said. James Gunn has never ever ripped off Guardians of the Galaxy. He's only ever ripped off Firefly and Farscape. And if you haven't seen those or don't know what they are, please do not try to criticize this woke shit when you don't know what you're talking about. As someone who's watched Firefly multiple times and is a massive fan of Farscape, I can see straight away that this is just one big ripoff. It's not influence, it's not inspiration. I'll try to break it down really quickly for people who haven't really seen it, but Firefly and Farscape are two iconic sci-fi shows that inspired James Gunn in every way possible. They also inspired the Guardians of the Galaxy comics to give you the character of Star-Lord, which in Firefly you had Captain Malcolm Reynolds, and in Farscape you had John Crichton, which were basically these swashbuckler Han Solo outlaw types, who both were two space badasses who wore long coats, had badass guns, who led a ragtag group of people throughout space. Now there's tons of nuances to that in all of the different shows and the Guardians of the Galaxy comics that James Gunn kind of mashed together and ripped off in every single movie he's ever made.
James Gunn is not ripping off Firefly or Farscape by using similar elements of sci-fi and comedy as well as likable spacefaring badass protagonists. With criticisms as lacking as this, you could honestly say that James Gunn is ripping off Halo or Metroid because he has stories in space with badass main characters in those too.
I know he's not directing Supergirl, but he basically has control of it, and it's shown no clearer than in this shot right here. Oh, okay, so Supergirl has a new outfit change.
Serious?
The greatest sign that James Gunn is in control of this movie is Supergirl wearing a trench coat. How does this guy have this many subscribers? James Gunn is a creative head over all these films, yes, but this isn't James Gunn's Supergirl movie, like many people online are trying to say. He has a lot of projects that he's been juggling over at least the last 2 years. I highly doubt that alongside directing Peacemaker Season 2, writing and directing episodes of Creature Commandos, writing and directing Superman 2025, as well as pitching in on every other project, I doubt that he had time to ghost direct Supergirl.
She seems to be wearing a long brown trench coat for the entire movie. Is this just to represent the fact that she's different from Superman and is some sort of rebel? Oh wait, you're just ripping off Firefly once again. It's the exact same coat.
I don't know what gave you an indication that this would be for the entire movie. It obviously isn't. We've seen her Supergirl costume in marketing, and even if it was true, I genuinely don't believe that Firefly and Farscape invented the trench coat in space in order for this to be a valid criticism.
And for some reason, there's some spaceship in this shitty trailer which is ripping off Serenity, the ship from Firefly. Now, Firefly took inspiration from classic anime and manga like Cowboy Bebop and Captain Harlock. But that's all it was. It was inspiration, and then it created an entirely different group of people and characterizations.
So if this movie is a ripoff of Firefly, simply for having a spaceship with two moving thrusters and a central cockpit that functions as seating for passengers... No, it isn't. And if Firefly and Farscape can pull inspiration from classic anime and manga, and then you haven't explained why Supergirl can't do the same. Even if this was potentially directly inspired by Firefly or Farscape, which again, you have not provided any substantial proof for in your video. They kind of look similar, I guess, but they look like a pelican from Halo as well, kinda.
James Gunn just makes the same shitty woke movie over and over, and every single one rips off Firefly in some way. And nobody knows because they're too busy scrolling on TikTok and haven't seen Firefly. So they'll eat up this feminist slop over and over. But that's the funny part. It's not gonna work this time because everybody is fed up with your retardation.
How does James Gunn keep making the same woke movie over and over again? Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and 3 are part of the same trilogy, and they are different enough to warrant debate amongst the viewers as to which is a better film. They aren't the same movie, they aren't the same story. Even with the same director, many of the same characters, somehow the story and themes end up being different. It's almost like what a story is and what makes up fiction is more than just a bad faith summary of events that you can put on a YouTube video. Maybe film, with its multi-hour runtime, millions of dollars in budget, and acting, can actually convey more dense and compelling stories than a summary of the events done by a Scottish 15-year-old. The criticisms he gives in this video are so baseless that it ends up making himself look more illegitimate.
Once again, to reiterate, I shouldn't have to do it, but there's a lot of spastics in my comment section. Handicaps like James Gunn belong behind bars for thinking a certain way about kids. F*** your ripped off movie and f*** you, you weird freak.
Nothing shown on screen here. There's no points to back himself up. He's just blindly calling the opposition to his opinion spastics and predators. This is absolutely peak delusion. The only thing I could parse from this is that he's trying to call James Gunn a predator for jokes that he made over a decade ago, even though this guy is seemingly on the other side of the culture war and believes in free speech, I would say, given the crazy gamer words he's using in all of his titles and thumbnails.
Seriously, who is going to watch this movie? Unfunny Marvel humor, terrible CGI, cliched feminism that we've seen 100 times.
Where was the Marvel humor in this trailer? Where was the feminism? Can you please show it to us on the video editing timeline, Mr. Monetized YouTuber?
And also, where the hell is the dude in the movie? You just have two chicks running around, both of which, I'll be honest, you could have cast a more attractive Supergirl if we're going to be seeing her for the entire movie. Because two gay feminists running around for the entire movie is not appealing to anybody. It's just the truth. I don't make the rules. Nobody's going to watch this shit.
I don't need a ginger without an upper lip to tell me what an attractive woman looks like. Millie Alcock would be scared to get in an elevator with you. And I'm sorry that she just doesn't entice you as much as Jason Momoa.
There's literally nothing that could grasp my attention other than the fact that you have Jason Momoa playing Lobo. Nobody's gonna watch this shit. And when Jason Momoa is the best you can do for a badass guy in the movie, I really don't know what's wrong. Because Lobo is a really cool character, but Jason Momoa is not a really cool guy. He's not some metalhead badass in real life. In fact, he's the exact opposite. Just because you listen to Gay Pantera one time,
a gay black man, I kissed him on the lips,
does not make you a metalhead. Go back to getting a manicure and running around acting like a f***. And the trailer goes on with CGI fighting, cringe feminist one-liners, and a random shot of Lobo. I'll say it flat out, I don't care if Jason Momoa has long hair. The guy needs to go back to being in like Minecraft movies or something retarded like that and stay the hell away from a badass character like Lobo.
I'm pretty sure Josh Brolin isn't a genocidal incel alien in real life, yet he played a pretty damn good Thanos. I'm pretty sure Tobey Maguire isn't a kid from New York who once fought a serial killer in a goblin mask, yet he plays a pretty good Spider-Man. Playing a character, you do a thing called acting. And Jason Momoa has been acting as either the tough guy warrior type or the dude bro comedic relief for the last decade. Blending the two by casting him as a character that naturally represents both aspects in varying degrees only makes sense. I figured he was going to complain about Lobo not being in the trailer enough and was worrying that he was just going to be clickbait for the fans. But instead he hit me with a complete curveball here where there's actually no criticism to parse out. He's complaining that the guy that played Khal Drogo isn't manly enough. Meanwhile, Ranting for Vengeance looks like this.
Speaking of which, somebody here saying that Lobo looks perfect. What the fuck are you smoking? How does some kick-ass character with an iron cross around his chest equate to some gay black dude who was never ever cool? Seriously, let's just compare the two images. Now I know they might have done a good job in the costume department and he might look a small bit like Lobo, but they're leaving out some of the most important parts of the character. And that's the part that all of these people are gonna leave out because they do not read comic books.
I can't believe I'm saying this. No, Ranting for Vengeance. Lobo in this movie is not black. In that shot, the lights are merely dimmed. The brightness has been lowered. Lobo isn't black, and neither is Jason Momoa in real life, genetically. I don't know how you can see the future yet to know if the character's gay either, because we know literally nothing about the character in this continuity other than the fact that he exists. He will be in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and we have now seen his face. What important parts of his character are not being shown? Go into detail in some place, please. He looks the part well enough for the one shot that we see him in, I guess. It's not like he has a big logo on Lobo's character design that it's normally missing. It's not like there's a big fat L that's supposed to be in the center of his t-shirt that's just not there.
Lobo is a character who was majorly improved by Simon Bisley, an absolute legend in comics. The guy excels at creating awesome masculine characters, working on Heavy Metal Magazine, Judge Dredd, dark fantasy stuff like Slain, taking inspiration from Heavy Metal and Frank Frazetta, and to create the kick-ass punk rock anti-hero Lobo, he took inspiration from Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead, which anybody can really take inspiration from, and you'll be on the right path in life. They look and act identical with the same mentality of stick your middle finger up and don't give a fuck what people say. He also took inspiration from Glenn Danzig, the punk rock legend of the Misfits, Sam Hain, and his own band, which once again is exactly like Lobo in real life. Some guy who will gladly wear leather jackets, wear the Iron Cross, have long hair, be jacked, and kick your ass, and not give a fuck about your politics or what you want people to believe.
Simon Bisley's art is fantastic. But outside of using his designs for the character design references for an animated movie or TV show, which this isn't, what are you supposed to do with Bisley's artwork other than draw inspiration for the character design and the costumes? Oh wait, that's obviously what they did. He keeps making assumptions on Lobo's characterization to critique the film, again a film that's not out yet, while also giving this half-hearted attempt at explaining his characterization through allegory to real celebrities. And it's incredibly incessant how he keeps bringing up Lobo wearing the Iron Cross and not caring about politics, as if politics has anything to do with the movie outside of the in-universe ones that may affect the plot. I don't think the Supergirl or Jason Momoa as Lobo has anything to say really either way about politics. This is a action blockbuster superhero movie.
And I can tell you for 100% fact that black Jason Momoa will not be wearing any Iron Cross in the movie because he's a pussy. The bitches at DC are not like Simon Bisley. They will not give you some character who is offensive and will kick your ass. It's just not gonna happen, and my takeaway from this entire thing is that this movie is an abomination for tarnishing a character like Lobo. Jason Mahomo is not offending anybody, whereas Lobo will always offend somebody who has a problem with the Iron Cross or having long hair. Yeah, I could talk about this for hours. I'm not really gonna waste your time.
I have to ask this again. Why do you think Jason Momoa is black? Why do you keep bringing up the Iron Cross? Why do you expect a Hollywood film studio and a comic book artist to be similar? And in what ways? This isn't even criticism, and you're barely even asking questions. And yet, somehow 22,000 people watched this crap, and over 2,000 people liked it. It's completely non-substantive criticism, coming from a bad faith actor who intends on only poisoning the well before the film is even released. Ranting for Vengeance is one of the most obvious grifters I've ever seen. And even though he may actually genuinely believe these things, but he cannot come to believe these things through any sort of sound logic. So even though this video may be a failed appeal towards him, he may never be able to back out of the grifter corner, I hope if anybody that actually genuinely watches this guy stumbled on this video, you could understand the lack of substance to his criticism and try to pull yourself out of that side of the YouTube algorithm. Anyway, I appreciate you all if you watched this far. Thank you all for the support on the recent videos. Keep sharing with your friends, keep subscribing, and hopefully I'll be monetized here soon, and I'll be able to more consistently put out more content. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Peace out.